When I stepped out of the parking garage in downtown San Jose, I looked exactly like Emmeline Sinclair. As I walked down the street toward Emmeline's engineering firm, I concentrated on keeping my face thinned, my nose pointed, and my eyes lightened. The comb Mom had bought at Emmeline's favorite jewelry store dug into the back of my skull, holding up my hair, which I'd faded to blonde to match Emmeline's subtle highlights. I glided down the street in 3-inch stilettos, a giant teal scarf wrapped around my neck, bought at the flea market where Emmeline liked to go on weekends. I was grateful for it, because the cut of the blouse was lower than I liked, and Emmeline's breasts were a full 2 cup sizes bigger than mine to emphasize it. Emmeline might have had better fashion sense than me, but at least I had the intelligence not to walk 3 blocks every day in shoes with no arch support and no grip. This outfit was ridiculous. Emmeline was an engineer, not a movie star. But today I would wear it because that's what Emmeline always did. And my job was to be exactly like Emmeline. My parents were counting on it. As I approached the building, I pulled the lanyard bearing Emmeline's name tag out from under my scarf. It doubled as a keycard, a method of security as common as it was easy to duplicate. The lobby was open, so I didn't need to scan the card to get in. The real test wasn't the door. It was one thing to look like Emmeline, and another to act the part so her coworkers wouldn't notice anything amiss. As I moved through the revolving doors, I tossed my scarf over my shoulder with a flick of my wrist, like I'd seen her do in the security footage. My shoulder twinged. Mom had made me practice that little maneuver a few too many times. Between that and the stilettos, I was going to need a chiropractor after this. I strode across a lobby filled with a large fake ficus. A security guard, Frank, stood behind a counter looking down at his workstation. He sipped coffee from an extra-large styrofoam cup. Even if he'd been a useful mark, I couldn't have impersonated him. Frank had a jagged scar over his left eyebrow, something that even my parents couldn't duplicate. "Morning, Em," Frank said. "Good morning," I said. I'd practiced this interaction from security recordings. I wanted to say his name, to prove I knew it, but Emmeline never did that. Frank probably wouldn't have noticed the difference, but lots of little inconsistencies would gather his attention, even if Frank couldn't put his finger on why. When it came to impressions, trying too hard was the easiest way to fail. Don't be nervous, I told myself. I was Emmeline, confident engineer today, not Jory, frightened girl on her very first solo job. I'd been doing impressions since I was a child, but impersonating my best self was always the hardest one. I headed down the hall to the elevator, resisting the urge to tug at the front of my shirt. These weren't my breasts. They were Emmeline's, but that didn't make me feel less exposed. The doors opened just as I got to them. Frank had called the car from the front desk. He was good at his job, and I was glad it wasn't him I was here to embarrass. I forced myself not to wince. Even that was a sign that I was soft. My parents wouldn't have thought twice about getting him fired. If the price was right,